Here's a snippet from Show Me the Science with Professor Luke O'Neill, a weekly series that explains different topics through science.
It's hard to imagine when people begin digging up these bones. Can you imagine the shock and awe when fossil hunters dug up these massive bones of these creatures and wonder, what the hell are these? The Chinese get the credit, as they often do for things. They dug up the first dinosaur bones hundreds of years ago. Guess what the Chinese thought? They must have been the remnants of dragons. And in fact, one idea where the myth of dragons came from is these dinosaur bones must have been, dragons that died off and left their bones there. That was one idea the Chinese had anyway.
To hear the full podcast, go to newstalk.com, the Newstalk app powered by Go Loud, or wherever you get your podcasts. Off the Ball. This is Newstalk.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on Newstalk. John Duggan with you through to 5. We've got Johnny Ward, the broadcaster and journalist on Football Saturday legend in studio. How are you, Johnny?
Well, I'm all the better after such
that introduction.
Such an appraisal. It doesn't get any. It's all downhill from here.
You're summering well. I've seen you on Racing TV across the land, doing all the interviews.
Yeah, summering grand. Doing plenty of Racing TV, JD. Doing, I suppose, more of the peripheral meetings. But so I'm not in action in Galway.
That's where you meet the real racing people, Johnny.
Yeah, and you go to places like Downpatrick and the effort they put in to attract crowds and the little kind of family atmosphere tracks like that, where a lot of the bigger tracks struggle in that regard. But I'd have to say, JD, I did a bit of work ahead of the Galway Festival the other day, so we went into Galway. Last week we went to Aido McGuinness's yard and Gavin Cromwell's yard, and then there was another add-on to the show where you went into Galway and met some of the people. And like, Galway City is just like, it's if the Galway Races, and John B. Keane said it's a state of mind, Galway City, like, is there anywhere like it? It was just, I was outside Monroe's, and Gary, the proprietor of Monroe's, he seemed to know everyone. And it's like this, as much as Galway's full of tourists, it seems to have this charm. And then you throw the races in on top of the arts festival, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's
what we're previewing now, between now and 4, the racing festival, which starts on Monday and goes for the whole week. So you're from Galway, Johnny. So what did Galway mean to you growing up?
I'm actually nearer to Roscommon in terms of proximity to a race course, but I remember going to Galway for the first time, and this is where my life was ruined, basically, where I remember, and I was clearly too young, but I was betting with the tote or whatever, you know the way it is, and I put my hands up. I probably had a bet with the tote before I was 18, but Everton won, JD, that day, and like, obviously hadn't a clue, probably still don't have a clue. Everton won, and there was even one race where I backed a horse to finish second, and it came out, and I left I threw the docket away, left where I was sitting down, and it came over on the tannoy. Would you hold on to your dockets? There's a stewards' inquiry, and I didn't know what a stewards' inquiry was, but they reversed the result. And if I couldn't find the tote docket, it was done. I went back and I found the tote docket. It mustn't have been very windy. That one as well, and it was like, this is easy.
You're like the granny in Dostoevsky's The Gambler, when she did roulette and everything won, and then unfortunately it didn't go that well for her.
The first horse I had a leg in, who, I have to say, when he won in Galway with my late friend John Walsh and some other friends, is one of the happiest days of my life. But he was good, and that was.
This is the festival now.
It was later on. It was sort of the October meeting, Operation Houdini, but I had a leg in him. Ruby Walsh rode him, and to win at Galway was really special. But funnily enough, then 5 years ago tomorrow, I was looking it up, I did a piece of business post about this tomorrow. I had claimed a horse out of a claimer in Sligo for, I think, $4,000 or something like that, Sabras. And a claimer is such that you know exactly what you have to pay for the horse, and you can take him home that evening if you put in a claim. So Gavin Cromwell got him, and he was running him during race week in Wolverhampton. And I said to Gavin, I was like, what do you make of his chance? Like, he's 2-1 favourite. And he said, God, I wouldn't be backing him at that. She said, like, he's a chance, but like, it is what it is. So I got into the taxi anyway at Galway train station, and he goes, where are you going to race? I suppose I was like, yeah, I'm going to races. Have you a word for it? And I said, nah, not really. He goes, I've a word for one in Wolverhampton. It's a brass. I was like, what? And then I went to the races, and his odds kept coming in. I think Gavin had a winner in Wolverhampton. And I went into the Ladbrokes tent, and it's very modern now, but the place was packed. It was like probably the Monday of Galway, maybe the Tuesday. The place was packed. He got up on the line, like at a 5-4 favourite, got up on the line to win by about a neck, and the place erupted, and I didn't have a penny on him. And I was just like, this is completely mad. That's Galway.
Yes. That's
Galway, you know. And you've Goodwood on as well. So, like, I spoke to Ray Mulvaney this week. He said he's 30 years in the game, and you might remember
Seamus Mulvaney, the book.
Seamus's Seamus's nephew, so Seamus's brother Billy would be Ray's dad, and they've seen all the changes. We'll say I spoke about Magic Combination winning for Barney Curley in 1999 and Jamie Spencer riding it, and he couldn't get enough money on, and he had a row with Sean Graham, and that was a different time.
You're talking about the ring changing, are you?
Yeah, the ring. So like, Ray has seen the ring change so much in the sense that, the exchanges have taken over, and the ring is kind of now more reflecting of the exchanges. But he said in his 30 years of laying horses, the biggest ever payout he had was Miss United winning, and it wasn't when she won the Galway Hurdle, it was a year later when she won a 3-1 at Goodwood. And he said everyone at the track, like, he was betting on the away meeting, and everyone had backed Miss United.
Why did they do that? Because they remember winning her.
And she was a backable price, and everyone loved Mick Winters, and she was a really, really popular horse. Didn't she finish like third in the Gold Cup in Ascot, I think? Won the Galway Hurdle the year before. Do you remember who rode her?
I don't.
I have to look that up, actually, because I looked it up yesterday and I've already forgotten. But she went
Robbie Power.
She went to Goodwood the following year and was 3-1, so she was a very backable price, possibly favourite, but Jim Crowley, I think, rode her, and she won. And like, I must have been there that day, but Ray said the place went wild, and he said the payout was unbelievable. Like, everyone backed at the away meeting. So that's the fun of Galway, and also the fact that, Dermot Weld used to farm Galway and all that, but it's become so strong that he's just a player now. And he struggles in the 2-year-old maiden, the race he always used to win, and that's an exceptionally good maiden now. And as well, I was just talking to a couple of bookmakers at Ballinrobe the other night, and I think it was Ronan Graham made the point to me that Galway has mixed cards, and mixed cards are great. Like, they really are. They're not great for jockeys, but they're great for punters, and it's such an idiosyncratic track. And Galway, I wouldn't be the only person who probably met a girl the night after Galway. Like, it's a wild place. It's a state of mind. I absolutely love it. I feel about 100 when it's over, but you want to go again next year.
We obviously urging everybody to be responsible this week.
Definitely, and but we say that with a smile, but seriously do, because it's a long week, and if you've had a few beers, you really need to be careful, because it's a long week, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, Brian O'Connor, though, writing in the Irish Times this week about 217,000 people being there over the 7 days in 2006, 117,000 last year. So was that a Celtic Tiger thing? Was there maybe association with the Fianna Fáil tent and all that kind of thing? And something's gone out of it to a degree. You'd have to, when you look at those numbers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, they're quite staggering, actually. 217,000 over 7 days, when you consider the Sunday is a bit of an afterthought. They're phenomenal crowds for race meetings. Like people don't go to the Curragh now. People don't go to Leopardstown. So for Galway to even get, I wouldn't look so negatively on it. They're still getting, I guess this week they'll probably average nearly 20,000 a meeting, and it's quite expensive. And the one thing is, JD, as well, that a lot of really big racing fans do not go racing now. They watch it on racing TV or they watch it on RT, and they're happy.
It's just a change in rhythm. Like, things are cyclical in life. I think more people are going to Punchestown at the moment, for example, than they would have. So I do think that's one thing. I was there 20 years ago tomorrow, and I remember, and obviously he's young and irresponsible, that's his disclaimer before I
Now you're old and irresponsible.
Well, I think a bit more responsible. I remember just being in the Radisson, and the lady I was there was people in corporate world were going, do you want to get the helicopter up? And I was going, no, you're actually grand, I'll get the bus.
My God.
The lifts are going from the roof or whatever.
Maybe
it was near there. And then I remember ended up with the Fianna Fáil tent, just ended up in there, whatever, and was wearing spats and back 3 winners. And yeah, it was utterly wild.
And it's the timing of it as well. Where
the last time I lost my legs through nerves in the ring was at Galway 20 years ago.
Who was the horse?
The horse was Mantor, trained by Dermot Weld, won by neck. So there.
You just had a good bet in him.
The last time I remember seeing a purple €500 note. So these are all the things that you do when you're young and irresponsible.
Was the Euro even in at that stage? It was.
Which they've now discontinued. But
yeah,
it is a mad place, and the thing about it is you do need to keep your wits about you, because it can you can get lost in the flow. It's almost like one of these rivers that's flowing downstream, and you get caught up in it, and you get lost in the flow. And yeah, it is great fun. And I think one of the thing about it is that it does cater for syndicates. It does cater for the small owner and the group of lads or the group of girls that might have a leg in something.
100%. Racing so badly needs that, and like, in fairness to the likes of Aidan McGuinness, they've really targeted these kind of mile handicappers.
There are 500 people, I believe, in Shamrock Thoroughbreds, their syndicate. Just to point out once again that there's so many syndicates across the country. You're going to see on RTTV this week over the next 4 days. And
racing needs more of that, Judy. It needs more like a collection of 20 lads and lassies getting in on horses, and having syndicates really important, because if you think about it, and with the power of WhatsApp now, if 20 people are in a syndicate, how many WhatsApps are they sending to other people about the horse? And they're really spreading interest. Where, I mean, I love Willie Mullins, but I obviously do want racing to be fairly somewhat egalitarian in the sense of the wins, and that still kind of is the case in Galway, where like the likes of Mick Winters will win. Paul Gilligan has a horse that you might mention in the Galway Hurdle this year, small trainers, and also like you do get sort of lower grade-ish handicaps as well, where like a winner in Galway, regardless of where you're from, this is the weird thing about Galway, you might as well be from Timbuktu, but a winner in Galway is special because it's basically the biggest festival we have.
Okay, so let's go through the week itself. So
on that note, here's a few losers in Galway.
The main storylines, though, are there storylines that we can look towards?
Storylines. I guess Dermot Weld has lost he's lost that stranglehold in the meet, but it'll still be interesting to see the 2-year-old maiden, what goes on there, and the storylines have probably yet to emerge in terms of some young jockey's going to win. Like, I spoke to a jockey at Limerick the other night who's riding in the Galway Hurdle, Keane Quirk. He's riding for Gavin Cromwell on My Mate Mozzie, who like looks a perfect type to race, but absolutely bombed in the race last year. So Keane Quirk, you'll get these young jockeys who like you really need to get on. I was talking to Harry Swan. I think we both met Harry, and I was like, Charlie's son. And if you get on something in the old GBT, the Connacht Hotel Handicap, and if an amateur, like it took Patrick Mullins, it took him to last year, I think, to win it.
Echoes and Rain last year.
Echoes and Rain.
But see, the TV cameras are rolling. It's on national television. It was the week that Joseph O'Brien arrived. I remember Joseph O'Brien win about 3 or 4 races. Must have been about 15 years ago, and it was like, this is the first time you've seen Joseph on the TV, you know. I
think Danny Mullins rode a treble in Galway, I think, and he was 16 or 17, and it's huge to announce jockeys. Like, it really does give you a huge publicity, and as you say, I assume RT's viewing figures are still very good for Galway, and the media just laps it up.
Okay, so we have the Connacht Hotel Handicap on Monday, so I'm just looking through this here when we're looking at the contenders. What about this race? Well, I think you've got to watch the jockey bookings. There are 3 maybe to look at. Teed Up is trained by Emmet Mullins. He's a heavy favourite. Turned up for this with a second at Tremor in his last run. Won the handicap hurdle at the track last year. The ground won't be an issue. Emmet Mullins won the Grand National with Noble Yates. He knows how to place them. A lot of money for this horse, and Teed Up is the favourite.
Yeah, I thought he was. I think he might have been put in at 9-4 earlier, JD, when I was looking at some book. And we were like, this is. I mean, he's run at Tremor. I watched that race. I think I might have backed something in it. And it was a much weaker race than this. But the thing about him was he's by Glen Eagles. Will 2 miles suit him? And in fairness, at Tremor, it looked like he did get the trip, but like, what is he, 3-1 or something in a race? Like, that's basically a maximum field. I don't know if he's that much in hand, so I'd be mad to take him on at the prices. And bookmakers will pay some bookmakers could play 6 or 7 places in this race.
Man, trained by Willie Mullins, the one I liked. Only 5 runs in his life, carries 10 stone 10. First run for Willie Mullins is the Kerr. Last time he was 6th as favourite. Might have been a prep race for this, Man.
Very interesting runner, and I'm just looking here. Do we have the jockey bookings? Because Patrick is on
Lot of Joy, is he?
Patrick's on a lot of joy, yeah. So the Mullins runner, I mean, he's going to be very, very strongly represented in it, and your horse is interesting. A lot of joy as well.
4th in the race last year.
Yeah,
4-year-old.
I think I tipped her up last year. 16 is quite complex, like to get out from 16 and to negotiate.
So just for anybody uninitiated, if you're in the stalls for flat race at Galway, to have a low draw is more beneficial.
Yeah, and
in terms of a horse's chance.
Yeah, and funny enough as well, if you break if you break slowly from the low draw, you're probably as well to break slowly nearly anywhere, because you might get behind a wall of horses. But it's a tight track, so if you're drawn furthest from the rail, any horse that's on the rail and is handy has a much better chance. This is logical stuff where you're covering less ground. So what Patrick does there will be very interesting. Just another couple of horses as well. Derek O'Connor riding Cougar, who's quite interesting. I remember tipping this horse up for the Fred Winter. He didn't run it, and he can be very keen, but he has a bit of ability. But JP McManus' other mount, another horse in the race, which is Harry Swan's mount, Shajak, who I saw winning at Limerick.
Trained by Gordon Elliott, 4-year-old.
Yeah, but he won at Limerick a couple of days ago, and I thought he was good, and like he comes here in good shape. He bolted up in the race. It was a weak maiden hurdle, but I think he's 33 to 1, so I think he's a chance. Others like Scaramanga as well for Willie has to be respected. Dutch Schultz has back form in the race as well for Gavin Cromwell, and Dartan as well as a horse that has been doing very well for Matthew Smith and would be up in the pace. So
your selection for that would be?
I'm actually going to go with Shajak. I just at the prices, and it'd be great for Harry. He's a lovely young lad, and he's excited for the week ahead.
Immelman is the one I'm going to go for Willie Mullins. The Tuesday feature is the Colm Quinn BMW Mile. Blues Emperor is trained by Johnny Murta on the Curragh. 4-year-old in an upward curve, won his last 2 starts, improving to land a valuable handicap at the Curragh last time out. The ground's not an issue. Is he a worthy favourite?
I like this horse now, I have to say. I'm not sure if he's going to defy the hike. I backed him at the Curragh the last day. I was surprised how big he was in the betting, and it was just a lovely performance. He's a real bonny game sort of a horse, and like the Curragh, I don't think there was much of a pace bias the last day. He was sort of made much of the running, whereas at Galway, like if he can get out in the front end. But what about Aidan McGuinness here?
Well, Aidan McGuinness has had Saltonstall winning before. Current Option runs here. This is over a mile. Current Option's been a specialist over 7 furlongs at Galway the last few years. Tosin Wish is another horse that could be interesting. Throwing a lot of horses at it to try and win it. But I'm fascinated that Aidan O'Brien's going to run around this Salt Lake City. I don't know if he'll turn up there now, but
yeah, I don't know if Aidan has ever. It's funny, you remember some of the Aidan's handicap horses who were gambled on in Galway. I remember Hitchcock in particular under Kieran Fallon. I think he went off odds on Giants Causeway horse in a 1.5 mile handicap, probably with 17 runners, and was just touched off in second. One of these days when the bookmakers were crying for Anton to win, but Anton else to win. But I think Saltonstall's very interesting. It was up at the yard.
So they train the horses on the beach?
They actually don't really, funny enough. So like Damien English would train his horses, would certainly gallop them on the beach. Ado does it more for just to get them out, get them in the water. He doesn't really. I don't think they really gallop them there, because I think he might think it's a little bit hard on them. They use their own gallops, but when we were out there, the horses they just seem happy, and they're in the water, they're lobbing along. I think it's probably good for their mind. The amount of people that just were walking on the beach and taking interest in the horses, beautiful sight.
Great photography, I would say.
Oh yeah, and that was a particularly nice morning. Lots of silhouettes of the horses in the water and the jockeys. And Saltonstall, we did a little piece with Ado, camera, and he was like, Saltonstall was in his stable, like, and he was just playing around in the background. He's just one of these horses you'd totally fall in love with if you were there. And he's come back to a mark that gives him a very realistic chance. Loves Galway, hasn't gotten a bad draw, and warmed up for this with a grand run, relatively eye-catching run at Leopardstown as well, under Adam Caffrey. And I quite like his chance, and as I say, JD, look out for each way value in the race. What do you like?
Soaring Monarch, trained by Peter Fahey, is one of the contenders, course and distance winner, good to yielding of an ordinary handicap last year. But he caught the eye in winning the first time out at Roscommon this season. Might have improved entering his 6th year.
That was a funny race. I was at Roscommon that night.
I'm going to give you a mad one, whether you have a bet on it or don't have a bet on it, you've just followed it to win. Current Option.
Current Option as well. Ado's I think Ado has a great chance of winning it. He's basically laid out horses more or less for this race, and I don't know who rides Current Option.
Yeah, it's on Tuesday now.
Still not jocked up, obviously, but the draw is going to be interesting here. It's going to be
a low draw is very important. Getting in position towards the rail. Yeah,
the funny thing is as well, like
this is a right-handed track, which is a bit of an
right-hand track, and then there's a downhill, and then there's a steep uphill. But like they can go very hard in this race as well. So like if you have 3 jockeys who are desperate to make the best of the low draw, they can go too hard, and that'll suit the likes of Saltonstall. But I was in Roscommon when Soaring Monarch won, and it was, I don't know how I should put this, it looked a prep for Galway, and I'm not really sure it was that much in their head that this horse is going to win here. He was like 12 to 1 or something, and like Ronan Whelan came into the straight behind a wall of horses, really, really eye-catching. Sort of got up near the line, and I spoke to connections afterwards. Everyone seemed a bit shell-shocked, and I just came away thinking this horse has clearly been prepared for Galway, and this was like a little bit of a stepping stone. The win is a bonus, a bonus in the sense that they won, but obviously hurt his handicap mark a little bit. But what does he get in at 13? So yeah, very interesting. And as you say, then Aidan O'Brien, it'll be interesting to see if he's represented.
The Galway Plate is the race on Wednesday. This race has been going for donkey's years. I'm actually just going to find out how long it's been going for here. But the race itself, it's 2 miles and 6 furlongs, and you need to be able to jump well. And often you find a front runner can do well here. I find it, get into a rhythm out front. And
remember Clarkham?
Yes.
We've had Mark Enright in before. Absolutely. And obviously, I suppose, but when you're talking about storylines, Huey could be a storyline as well.
Huey was a horse that was bought for 800 quid.
Yeah.
And won the American Grand National last year, won this race last year.
Should have probably followed up in
Kerry.
Stole, but he would have won, but he fell at the last. But fun, like, to see Charles.
1869 was the first Galway Plate.
That's amazing when you think of how different Ireland was at that time and what the nature of the race. But like Hewitt to be top weight ahead of inevitably Kilcrut, Easy Game, 2 Willie Mullins trained horses, Fury Road, Gordon Elliott, Lifetime Ambition, Jessica Harrington, Andy Dufresne, Gordon Elliott, Shark Hanlon to have the key in terms of the top weight. And the top weight wouldn't worry me that much in relation to Hewitt. Like, he's a class act. But the fascinating runner here, JD, has to be Inniskerry. For Barry Connell. He won at the track last year. I think he's had 3 chase runs. He won his first 2. I think he won a Roscommon, won well, and the last time he ran in a chase it was possibly the Drinmore earlier last season, and he ran no sort of race, but you know, you can kind of maybe put a line through that. But he warmed up for this on the flat at Leopardstown with a seriously impressive win in a race that was kind of full of horses that would maybe be running Galway or running good races. Barry Connell, I presume Michael O'Sullivan's going to ride him. He lacks experience, but he's going to be on the front end, and he's a fascinating runner. Another I have to give a mention to is Final Orders, who just been phenomenal for Gavin Cromwell. He's by Camelot. Camelot is the sire of Luxembourg, who's running in the big race today. I'm just losing track of what time is the King George. Hasn't happened yet, is it?
We'll come back to you in a second there.
So Camelot obviously anyway is the sire of flat horses, but he has Final Orders here, who'd probably be his best jumping horse so far. Loves jumping. I think he's going to run very well.
We also have Ashtree Meadow in there, who has got a low weight compared to last year, £6 less to carry than last year.
Been well backed as well.
A good jumper. I'm just looking here through. Hookham has won the George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes.
The ground must have been a little bit in the.
An upset there in the big one.
My bet was Westover, and that it was actually second, but an upset and obviously a favourite well beaten. So
Auguste Rodin.
Yeah, Luxembourg. I mentioned Camelot. He finished 4th. But yeah, the plate is a race, JD, that you try to get into a rhythm. It's real helter skelter, and you wouldn't kind of want to let a horse loose like Clarkham did. But it's become like how classy this race is now, where the top weight is rated 167. Like, that's incredible. Like, this was a race years ago where you'd possibly win it with a horse rated 130 or 125. Not anymore.
So this is a blow for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, is it?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see the race, and I know there were issues in relation potentially with the ground, but yeah, it is. It's a big. He spoke actually after. I think it was after the Irish Derby. He was saying that the lads, as he calls them, the Coolmore partners, they want to run their horses more with the view to their robustness as a stallion. So if they retire a horse, sort of relatively likely race a 3-year-old, they don't know if his progeny will be able to stand up to racing a lot. So his theory now is they run them more often. So this was an incredibly deep King George, and like, he was coming in after an unimpressive win in the Irish Derby, and this was his acid test, and he's failed obviously.
Yes, and Hookham, trained by Owen Burrows, ridden by Jim Crowley, is the winner of that race, so well done to him. So that's the kind of the breaking news here, the big race of the day, the Group 1 King George and Queen Elizabeth race at Ascot. I don't think it's got the profile it used to have, but Hookham 13-2 winner, Westover second 7-1, King of Steel third at 9-2.
It felt like everyone turned up today, do you know what I mean? Like
Luxembourg's in the race.
Yeah, Luxembourg was, I think he finished 4th, but like, like the Derby first and second, you had like a seriously deep field. I mean, like Bolshoi Ballet was like 100-1 or something. Like, it was an amazingly deep race.
So the Galway plate, you're putting 2 to Enniskerry.
I like Enniskerry, yeah, and maybe Fine Lord is a saver. He's more solid, but Enniskerry for me is the one that
jumps out for me. Lifetime Ambition, if it turns up here, on 11 stone, second in the Troytown Chase at Navan last autumn, ran well in the John Durkin chase behind Galopin des Champs. It's a grade 1 chase, good jumper, was brought down in the Grand National, hasn't been seen since, but I think Lifetime Ambition is a classy horse in this race.
Definite chance. I seem to recall Jesse mentioning a plan for this horse when I was at the yard there a couple of months ago, and he's been very, very solid. As you mentioned, he unseated in the National, but his back form is solid, and I don't know if Jesse's actually won the Galway plate.
Don't believe so.
Yeah.
Crush won very well at Punchestown in the spring. Do you not like it though?
Yeah, I mean, he was a horse that...
He was a great bumper horse. Can be a bit inconsistent.
He was a horse that they thought a lot of. He was well backed actually at Punchestown, and he seemed to stay the trip well. Obviously ran in O'Toy in our hurdle races, wasn't particularly well fancied, but he is interesting. Like, he's only had 4 chase starts, so he's still relatively unexposed and very classy as well. Not entirely sure he'd get up the hill as well as some others.
A market sign for a visionarian, once again Peter Faheyard, Hewick you mentioned. I think Ashtree Meadow and Lifetime Ambition will be my 2 against the field in the Galway plate on Wednesday. Then the Galway hurdle on Thursday. We have a load of horses here with chances. I think this race, you used to maybe have low weighted horses, but as the plate, as you've suggested, it's a better class race now. So Willie Mullins has had Armagh and Sharjah and Saldier win off big weights,
top weight, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you like in this?
What do I like in this? I wonder what Patrick is going to ride. I like
Buddy 1. Paul John Gilligan's a local trainer there in Galway.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been racing when I think I've been at Buddy 1's last couple of races. I was at the race when he ran Roscommon, which was a race that was run by Glan. There was all these horses that were probably going to, like, a lot of them had Galway ambitions, and Buddy 1 was run. That was like 1.3 miles, and he stays at least 2.5 over hurdles. So I thought the trip was going to be a bit inadequate for him, but he ran well. But he then rocked up at was it Listowel or Killarney the last day? Listowel, I think, and Derek O'Connor kind of went up the inner on him and met traffic, but I thought he looked a bit flat-footed. So met Paul since anyway, a great fella, and he met him at the race and he said, the horse in very good nick. So it'll be one of the big stories. I do like Party Central though, as much as
that's Gordon Elliott trained horse. Yeah,
so Harry Swan, I'm going to give Harry a mention again. He rode her at Bellewstown the last day where she beat Jessie Evans, who has kind of Galway form, and Jessie Evans subsequently won and comes back here, but she could hardly pull her up afterwards, and might have small jumping issues, and she's a bit of a bridle horse, but I think she's a lot of class for a race like this.
Zarek the Brave is a 4-year-old, a lot more to come. Third in a valuable race at O'Toy last time out.
Yeah, I'd say he might go off favourite, and as you say, again, he's only had 4 hurdle starts. They ran him in a grade 1 the last year. This shows they ran him in a grade 1 at Punchestown. He's second to Lossiemouth. Just shows the calibre of the Galway hurdle now. Not sure about 4-year-olds in the Galway hurdle, what sort of record they have. Off the top of my head, I'd say it's rare now.
It's Perigene Diamond or something in the late 90s.
It's a big ask for a 4-year-old, because it's Tudor City. I mean, met John Breslin recently in outside a restaurant. The owner, and John has an affinity with Galway. But Tudor City, I remember this horse winning a flat handicap, I'd say 8 years ago, maybe at Galway, 7 or 8 years ago. I think he's 11 now, so he was 3 or 4, and he won under Fran Berry, got up by a neck. I remember having backed it the night before at a good price, and it was one of these great kind of Galway wins, but he's coming back to win the Galway hurdle for a 3rd time, which would be a record. 11
now. I'm right, but I got the year wrong. Perugino Diamond 2000, the last 4-year-old
2000, wow,
the last 4-year-old to win a Galway hurdle, so that'd be a stat against our Braves' chances.
Put me off a bit, and in fairness to Tudor City, to win the last day off, what do you win off?
10 stone 11.
70, yeah, and 70 on the flat in a good race, so he's coming here in perfect form, and the age wouldn't bother me at all. I'd prefer to back an 11-year-old than a 4-year-old in the race, and it'd be a lovely Galway story if he were to win it again for John Breslin.
A couple of 3 JB McManus runners. Filey Bay, 3rd in the county hurdle at Cheltenham. Brazil won a grade 3 at Naas back in November, hasn't done much since. Takao was 3rd in a handicap at Punchestown, only got 10 stone 4. Which of the 3 do you like there?
None of them really.
None of them, right?
No.
My mate Mozzie.
Well, my mate Mozzie, like I
can't get over last year's one.
I would struggle to back a horse. Like Cian Quirk is a smashing young rider, and it was lovely to see like just the smile on his face and the excitement, thinking of having a ride in the Galway Hurdle, a young jockey. That if you walk down the street, nobody know who he is, but they will if he wins in Galway.
Here's one for you. Ballystocks won handicap hurdle Punchestown. Caught my eye at a price.
Yeah, he is interesting. The other and he's progressive. I just looking at them here. Mighty Tom isn't that long with Cian Collins, and travelled like an absolute dream in winning the last day. He sneaks in here.
The Capo Glory.
The Capo Glory.
Ran well at Punchestown in a novice hurdle.
Pádraig Butler, yeah. And Pádraig Butler, if I'm right in saying, had a winner at Limerick. He's only a small. He's the first cousin of James DeLay. And I spoke to him. He's hopeful the horse will sort of run well. But he's only a tiny operator. Just in relation to those McManus runners, Brazil is interesting in the sense of that back form that he has. Galileo, he's very, very good. Takao is a horse I don't like. I think he's a bit of a bridle horse. And Filey Bay, I think, is probably the most solid place bet in the race to an extent. I think he's going to run well, but I don't know if he's hand in hand at this stage. Very, very shrewd purchase by Paul Byrne and subsequently bought by JP.
If you're going to go to Galway, folks, enjoy yourselves. Obviously, be responsible. The Euro each way will do. But your idea of a winner, Johnny, this week?
I like Party Central in this. I think she's primed to run a big race.
Each way?
And each way, then maybe Salt and Stall in the feature on day 2.
My 2 against the field in the plate are Lifetime Ambition and Ashtree Meadow if they turn up, and in the hurdle I like Ballystocks and the Capo Glory. Johnny, thanks as much as always. Look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time for Football Saturday.
Are you going to Galway actually?
I probably might get a late call.
Rumours of a raid on Tuesday from one of our mutual friends.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But, you can check us out on the social channels. The return of Football Saturday in 2 weeks. Look forward to talking to you then, Johnny. And then coming up after the break, we're going to chat to Leitrim's Zach Moraldi on the subjects of hurling and inclusion. Stay with us. Also, the best of the football pod between 4 and 5 ahead of the All-Ireland final tomorrow between Kerry and Dublin. We're back after the news.
Join the conversation at News Talk FM on Facebook for the latest headlines, videos and thought-provoking podcasts. News Talk. Conversation that counts.